Hello readers, I'm Amy and today I'm going to talk about a week of reading Matt Haig. This was pretty much completely on accident. In an ideal world I would have vlogged the week of reading Matt Haig, but it didn't happen that way because I was just like getting into him as an author. I'm going to start off with the first book that I read by him. I picked this up recently. It is The Humans. This book was recommended by Emily Fox. She reads a lot of sci-fi. I will link her channel down below. And it's another one of those, it's kind of like with Stranger in a Strange Land. I know that this is not the same thing as the Third Rock from the Sun show, but that's what it reminds me of. And if you watch Break Even Books, you'll know that he recently did a video with a bunch of booktubers talking about their favorite sci-fis. I was lucky enough to be featured in that video, and I talked about The Humans, which again, I ended up picking up not only because it was recommended by Emily, and I think we tend to have similar tastes, but it sounded like Third Rock from the Sun. You have aliens coming to Earth and trying to be human and being kind of bad at it. And this book, it was funny, it was touching, it really talked about like what it means to be human. And if you're just getting started in sci-fi, or if you're looking for a simpler sci-fi to read, this is definitely a good one to pick up. You don't have to worry about the math and the science in it. This is probably one of the easiest sci-fi books I've ever read, and for that I commend it, because sci-fi can be a really complicated genre. And after this book, I was looking at some of the other books that Matt Haig is really known for, and one of them that kept coming up was The Radleys. And I cannot believe that I hadn't heard of the Radleys or that I hadn't read the Radleys, because if you know me, you know I've kind of got a thing for vampires. And the Radleys is about this girl who ends up discovering through an incident with a boy that she is a vampire, and her parents never told her. Like they come from this long family line of vampires, and they procreated to create their vampire children, who are now finally learning at the age of like 16 and 17 that they are also vampires. And they've survived for so long because there's like this book about abstaining from drinking blood, so they're kind of like vampire vegans. And the girl who starts off the story is actually trying to be vegan, and they're like, no, you need to eat meat. It's good for you, because meat is kind of what helps them cope with not drinking blood. And again, it was so funny, and there was a lot about what does it mean to be human, to be part of the human world. And I cannot believe that I hadn't heard of that book before. So loved it. The Humans I think I gave 4.5 stars, and The Radleys I gave 5 stars, and from there it's like, okay, I want to see what else this guy's got. So then I picked up Reasons to Stay Alive, which is I think the nonfiction he's most well known for. This book can definitely be triggering. It made me sad in a lot of parts. It focuses on depression and anxiety, mainly depression and kind of suicidality. Thinking about it, trying to think of reasons to stay alive, which is why he named it what he did. He really, it's kind of a self-help and kind of a memoir. I think it had a really good balance between those two ideas. And we're just following along in different parts of his life, particularly this episode he had. I think he was in Spain and he was getting ready to go home, and he just got so depressed and was thinking about these big changes in his life. And he's just very personal with us. And this book really kind of helped me better understand The Humans and the Radleys, because again, it's a focus on the human condition and what does it mean to be human, and what does it mean to have all of these anxieties and all of these thoughts throughout the day that can upend our whole day or our whole lives. Loved that book. 5 stars for sure. He actually read that audiobook. Someone else had read the audiobook for the Radleys, and I have The Humans as a physical copy. And lastly, I picked up Notes on a Nervous Planet, which I ended up giving like 3 stars. I didn't love it as much as Reasons to Stay Alive. It felt like kind of a follow-up to, or a companion novel to Reasons to Stay Alive, which when I looked it up later, that's essentially what it is. It focuses more on anxiety than depression, and with the stuff he talks about in Notes on a Nervous Planet, it's taking a lot of the concepts that he'd already discussed in Reasons to Stay Alive and just kind of expands on them a little bit, but overall it felt a little repetitive for me. So I would say if you're looking for nonfiction more on depression, then pick up Reasons to Stay Alive. If you're looking for something that focuses more on anxiety, Notes on a Nervous Planet. If you had to only read one between the two, I would say Reasons to Stay Alive. I don't think you need to read both of them. But nonetheless, this turned into a week of reading Matt Haig, and it was a treat. I'm still not sure if I'm going to pick up The Midnight Library. That seems to be his most popular book lately, and I'm just not into people reliving their lives. It's not a storyline that I'm drawn to. But I'm enjoying his writing enough that I might read it anyways. I haven't really decided yet. And then he's coming out with another book. I want to say it's Comfort Notes or Notes of Comfort or something. It's supposed to come out, I guess, this summer. And I think it's adding on, again, to that discussion that he has in Reasons to Stay Alive and Notes on a Nervous Planet. Something else I forgot to mention, he has an affinity for lists, which I really appreciate. I love a good, organized list of thoughts. And The Humans has a couple of lists. He ends up giving advice to someone towards the end of the book, and it is 97 different pieces of advice on being human, like irony is fine, but not as fine as feeling. Shame is a shackle. Free yourself. Everything matters. Your mother should write a novel. Encourage her. That's coming from the book. And then the Radleys, you have lists, which I think the lists revolve more around ways to abstain or reasons to abstain from drinking blood. Reasons to Stay Alive, you get a list for that. Notes on a Nervous Planet was lists relating to anxiety. So you see that in all of the books that I've read so far. I don't know if they're in all of his books ever, but it's just nice to see because I love a good list. And then something else that continues throughout all four of these books is peanut butter sandwiches. So with The Humans being the first book that I read, he starts off with the alien talking about how he really doesn't like human food. All of it tastes pretty gross. And then he finds peanut butter sandwiches. And they're actually pretty good, and he can stand the taste of peanut butter. He enjoys himself, so he lives mainly off of peanut butter sandwiches throughout this entire book. And in the Radleys, I feel like at some point in the Radleys they talked about peanut butter sandwiches. And I can't even tell you what the context was, because I'm not 100% sure. But I'm fairly certain it would have mentioned peanut butter sandwiches. Because he also brings them up a lot in Reasons to Stay Alive and Notes on a Nervous Planet. I'm pretty sure that one of Matt Haig's main reasons to stay alive is so that he can eat peanut butter sandwiches. Anyways, I hope you liked this kind of shorter discussion on Matt Haig. I think he's definitely an author worth checking out. I want to pick up more books of his. I'm just not sure what I'm going to reach for yet. But he's just a joy to read. He's not ashamed of his depression. He tries to put it out there and make it easier for other people to talk about it. And then he's got these fun just fiction stories that still continue that theme of what is it to be human? What all does that involve? So if it sounds like something you're interested in, definitely pick one of these up. Please subscribe, be my friend on social media. I will see all of you in my next video. Bye, friends.